Alrighty, welcome back to another thrilling installment of Free Read Fridays. I'm your intrepid narrator, Fragath, and today we're going to read more of The Nightland, the greatest cosmic horror love story ever written by one William Hope Hodgson. So previously on, our protagonist, unnamed though he may be, has found she his truest love, Naani / Mirdath / Naani. And they have found each other. She apparently has been surviving on her own in the wilds of the Nightland, solo, without any resources for about the duration that he has been trying to get to her, which is months. It's been at least a month at this point. So she's a tough cookie. Admittedly, she is on death's door when he finds her. She's wasting away, but he does find her. Gives her some food, lets her rest, gives her some the inner armor from his armor to keep her warm and toasty. And they are steadily making their way back. The path they're taking back is a little bit different than the one that they took to get there, but they are passing near some landmarks, such as the spinning noise in the air, which may or may not be associated with some weird tree trunk-shaped thing. One of the great evil powers of the Nightland. So they're making their way. They do get some divine help in the form of an inexplicable halo light barrier of some kind, which is cool. The forces of good have it out for them to. They're pulling for them to get back safe and intact, souls and otherwise. So they are endeavoring to come back right now. I think they're just hitting the gorge now, if memory serves. So with that, let us continue our reading, and we will move along the tale of the Nightland. Chapter 12. Downward of the Gorge. Now I carried the maid an hour downward of the gorge, as I did say, and I was then grown so weary that I near fell, as I walked and stumbled every while, because that I had lost somewhat of guiding in my feet, the which did show mine utter alackness. And I saw that I must come very swift to a place for slumber, or that I did be like to fall headlong with the maid, for I nigh slept as I walked. And I began
And I began that I give attention to the sides of the gorge, and surely I had gone that hour all in a dream, for I was fresh waked, as it were, in that I did give my will to perceive aught, and when I did come to have power to attend, I knew that I had gone, even as a sleepwalker, for the gorge did seem a fresh matter unto me, and as that I had come awake sudden to find myself a walk in that strange and narrow place. And presently I saw somewhat where I did be, for I minded the memory of mine outward journey, and truly I have a good power to No, I didn't. Okay. And presently I saw somewhat where I did be, for I minded the memory of mine outward journey, and truly I have a good power to know and remember a way that I have gone. And I saw that there was a great and ruddy fire-hole anigh to me, and I was all sure that I had perceived certain caves in the wall of the gorge, near to that fire, as I passed it on mine upward way, and I had been given a mighty longing of heart at that time, that it be given to me that I should bring safe mine own out of the peril that beset her, and have her unto just such a place for her slumber, on the way of our journey backward. And surely I tell you this thing as a child in pleasure, for truly it was a wondrous happy matter that my desiring should be like to have a true ending, as indeed it did seem was truly to be, if that my memory had set me aright. And I went onward somewhat, and lo, I to be right, for the little caves did be there, a little past the great fire-hole, and there were 7 of them in the left side of the great cliff of the gorge, and one did be as that it were very cosy, and a place of sure safety, if that we could win unto it. And truly, as I did conceive, we had come safe from the evil forces of that land. But yet did I mind that there was no surety in this thing, and neither did I know but that some monster should come downward of the gorge, out of that land, and so work our deaths as we did sleep, if that we have no sure place for our slumber. And indeed I had wished that we were come a greater way downward of the gorge, but this might not be, for I was all adrift with weariness. And truly, if that we gat upward to the topmost cave, there did be few monsters that should have power to come at us, ere we be warned of their coming. And afterward they should be like to come upward against the discos, and this should be indeed a thing difficult, as you shall conceive. I shall do conceit. Anyway, now it did be needful that I wake the maid, and I kissed her, as she did be in mine arms. And surely that dear one did kiss back again in her sleep, and was yet asleep. And truly I did love her with all my being, and I kissed her again, and shook her very gentle, and so had her to wakefulness, and told how we did become to a place fit for our slumber. And she to look about, very sleepy, and as I set her to her feet, and then to upbraid herself that she did over to slumber, and the while that I did labour with her carrying. And in verity I kissed her again, as she did stand making to ready herself, and looking so pretty with the sleep that did lie yet in her eyes. And she to kiss me very dear and all mine, and even then scarce proper come to wakefulness, and did say with something of a little dear abandon that she did love me utter and forever. So lewd, their kissing. Oh, I'm such a prude, I don't know what to do with all this. And afterward I climbed to the topmost of the caves, and told mine own the while that she walk up and down a little, so that she come to a full awakedness, and this I was careful to, because that she should have a need of all her powers that she come safe upward unto the cave. And when I was come to the cave, lo, it did be so sweet and dry as did make glad my heart. And there did be a warmth in the cave, as that there went a fire somewhere through the rocks anigh. And the light from the fire-hole did make a reflection inward, and so this did seem a safe place, and fit to our slumbering. And I came downward unto Naani, calling that the cave was very proper for our use, and presently I gave her mine aid to the climbing, and so we came in the end safe into the cave, and truly we did feel very safe and happy. Yet before we did sleep I set free the scrip and the pouch, and took the straps and went downward again into the gorge. And I gat a good boulder, so heavy as I might carry, and strapped it to my back, and came upward again to the cave, and the maid very grave and anxious, lest that I slip to my hurt. And when I was come to the cave again, I set the boulder in the mouth of the cave, and did balance it so light upon the edge, that a touch should send it rolling downward. And by this devising I conceived that any beast or monstrous thing that should climb upward whilst that we slept should be like to set the rock adrift, and mayhaps the rock to work an harm to such, but the chief end to be that I should be swiftly wakened by the noise. And then I did turn that we go to our slumber, and lo, the maid had spread the cloak upon the rock, that we should sleep upon it. For truly there did be no need that we have it now to our covering, because that the cave did be so warm, as I have told before. And surely there did be no cause either that I should have the cloak for a bed, for how should I perceive any softness from the cloak through all the sternness of mine armour? But yet did I see that the maid had made a couch that should be for the two of us, and did be so sweet and natural, and to lie by me, but yet to preserve her sweet modesty, and to do the thing with no thought, save that it was natural to our hearts. And that she did long alway to be anigh to me, but yet, mayhap, scarce full conscious that her heart did prompt her in this thing. And, in verity, I loved her very dear. And surely Naani showed me where... And surely Naani showed me the where that I should lie upon my side, and when I had obeyed, she kneeled, and kissed me upon the lips. Very sober and loving, and she lay down then upon the cloak beside me, and truly we had both gone to sleep in 1 little minute, as I do think. Now I did be waked 12 great hours after, by the fizzing of the water, and lo, when I looked, the maid was not beside me, but did make ready our simple eating and drinking. And she laughed at me, very sweet and tender, because that she loved me so, and did be so glad to have me awake to her, and she came over to me, and kissed me, very bright and loving, upon the lips. And after that she had kissed me, she kneeled beside me, and looked at me, very dear and tender, so that I knew in a moment that she had waked a while gone, and watched me, somewise mother-like, as I did sleep. But how I knew this thing I am not sure, save that my spirit did know, or that her thoughts did have tongues unto mine.
Oh my God, they have tongue action now. Mind tongues?
Anyway, he's picking up on her ambient telepathic radiation, I guess. And truly I needed that I be so loved, or they're just of like mind. And truly I needed that I be so loved, and all of you to say like with me. And I put up mine arms to her, as I did yet lie, and she not to deny me, but came into mine arms, and did snuggle there so sweet and happy and gladly, and with so true a delight, that it did be plain how she did love in all her body and spirit to be anigh to me, and as I to her. Yet, truly, as you do mind, the armour did be upon me, so that I feared to take her very strong in mine arms, lest I hurt the dear maid. And surely the armour did be a stern manner for her to nestle unto. But yet, mayhaps, did the sternness something please her woman heart, and yet, again, mayhaps to lack. And presently she made that she would go from me, and I loosed mine arms from her very steady, because that I did heed alway that she have full sweet liberty of her dear maidenhood, and I to be watchful sufficient unto this end, yet always honest and wholesome, and not over-pondering even in this my care, and this proper intending you shall ever perceive, if that your hearts do strive to hearken unto my heart, which doth speak alway before you. And the maid went from me, over to where she had put the cup of the water, and the tablets, and I to make to rise. That I look, that the boulder did be safe untouched in the mouth of the cave. But she called unto me that I lie backward, for that she did mean gently to spoil me that once, and that I have no heed to the boulder, or whether there did be any monster or beast anigh in the gorge, for that the boulder did be safe as I did balance on it, and nowheres any creature to sight in the gorge, for she had looked oft since waking to this end. And truly I obeyed, and lay back, and did like that I should be spoilt, as we do say. And Naani brought the cup of the water, and the pillows, and the tablets, and Naani brought the cup of the water, and the tablets over to me, for she gat them from the scrip before I had it to my pillow, in that while when I had gone downward for the boulder. And surely, even when she brought the cup, she would not have me to rise, but took my head upon her knees, and kissed me once very dainty on the lips, and I very happy to be so loved, and wishful no otherwise. And she took a tablet, and kissed it, and gave it to me, and afterward touched another to my lips, and had that to be for her own. And so we eat, and were very glad and happy, some ways as children are happy, and our hearts all at ease. And presently we eat each our second tablet, in the same wise as the first. And truly I did be kissed more than once. And afterward we drank each of the water. And when we had made an end, Naani told me that I moved to stand, and surely I wondered. And I stood up, and lo, I near cried out with the pains of my bruisings, for I was all gone stiff in my sleep, and as that I did be more sore than ever. And this to be because I had fought again, as you do know, and surely had been hurt more by the 4-armed man than I had known. And I perceived then that Naani had supposed that I should be thus pained, and had given dear thought to the matter. And truly she had the pot of ointment ready, if that I did be very bad, that she rub me. And she gave me aid with mine armour, and afterward eased me with my garments. And surely I did be utter bruised in the body, by reason of the violence of the yellow man-beast. And the maid had somewhat so tender and sweet in her eyes, as she looked upon the bruisings, that I did be very happy, and to glow with contentment. And she had me to lie, and made me in comfort with the cloak, so loving and grave, so that I was as a child that doth be cared of by his mother. And she did rub me very skilful and gentle for a great hour, until I was all refreshed. And in verity she was a lovely, wise maid. And as the maid ministered unto me, I lay alway very restful, and harked to the low sound of the mutterings of the fire-hole that did be in the bottom of the gorge, and alway I did feel as an happy child that doth be clothed in love and guided in wisdom. And presently, when the maid had ended her dear care, she put by the ointment, and gave me her hands very dainty, that she mean to aid me to rise. And surely, when I was come again to my feet, I was all eased, and to have movement with no great pain. And truly this made me wondrous pleased, and to feel new couraged. For I had been troubled that I should be so helpless, in that I did be the protector of mine own. And when I had tried my limbs, and found them to be in command and ready, I looked about for my garments. And lo, the maid brought me my spare body vest from the pouch, and had it upon her arm to give to me. But surely she denied me a moment of the vest, and stood before me, and had an admiring and wonder, very sweet and honest, because that my arms did be so great and hard with muscles. And indeed I did be very strong, as you have perceived, for I did be alway in affection of the exercises that were taught in the upbringing of all the peoples of the mighty pyramid, and by this explaining you shall understand that I was like to be strong, but, indeed, I owed the straightness and shaping of my body to the mother that bore me. And afterward, in all my life, had I taken pride of my body to be of health and to have strength. And surely this is a matter very fit for pride, and to be both told bravely and with honesty. And the admiring of the maid was very sweet to me, and in verity I did be to deceive, if that I said otherwise. And in a moment she dropped my body vest, and put out her hands to me that I take her into mine arms. And I took the maid into mine arms with a great gladness, and with somewhat of humbleness, that I was nowise good enough to hold her, for my heart was young, and I loved her very dear and youthful. And she did lie there very quiet and happy, a little. And surely I did find presently that she kissed the great muslings of my breast, in very, very sweet and sly, where her face did be press against it. And lo, in a moment she came free of mine arms, and gave me an aid with my garments, and afterward with mine armour. And when that this was done, she stood off from me, and she looked at me, half shy and half of sweetness and naughtiness. And she came then in a moment to put her hands upward to my shoulders, and so stood her eyelids something down over her eyes, and did steal a little look up this time and that. And lo, in a sudden moment, before I did wot, she was to her knees before me, and did weep, and I down very swift to kneel with her. And I asked not why she wept, for I perceived that she did have joy and glad happiness and sweet trouble of her man, and that she did be a true woman, and one part of the woman did worship, so that she did be strangely humble and nigh to be shy, and another did love, and need that she be a nigh to me, and a third to have a calm wisdom. And all did now be a tremble together in her heart, and I knew that I did be truly an hero to her, though but usual to all others. And my heart was wondrous proud and wondrous humble, so that I was in the same moment upraised, and to feel dreadly unworthy. But I made no pretending to discredit myself to her, but only did resolve that I win alway her dear respect, and I did be natural and truthful of my manner, and without foolish denial of her sweet worship, for she was utter mine own, and it did be a pitiful thing, if that I seem otherwise than an hero unto her. But of you I ask kind understanding, and to call me not a thing of conceit, because that I did understand. For truly I knew my faults, even so well as you, that do know all of my going. And you to look backward upon the love days, and to mind how that your maid did ever to make you great in manhood with her dear belief and uplooking. And so shall you conceive of all my feelings, for we do be all so human in this matter, and to meet on a dear natural ground, as you will say. And truly, in a little time, mine own did be steadied, and wiped her pretty eyes, and nestled to me a while, very hushed, and to need that she be close. And I to have her gentle against mine armour, and to be in my heart as that I did be her father and her lover in the one man, and surely to be silent and joyful that I lived. And presently I slipped her shoes from her little feet with my right hand, the while that she did rest within my left arm, and I condemned myself that I had thought not more swift to this end, but indeed I had thought upon it while that Naani rubbed me, and had intention this wise, but afterward forgat, as you shall understand, that have been with me alway. And truly mine own did be hurt that I say aught to my blame, and I to cease, but yet to feel reproached by my heart. And when I had looked to the maid's feet, I tied on her shoes again, and we gat together our gear. And afterward we came down from the cave, with great care, because that it did be so high up in the cliff of the gorge. And afterward we made downward of the gorge, and had a good care to our going, and so much of speed as we could make, that we come that we come something off from the dark land of the lesser Okay, fine. Be that way. And afterward we made downward of the gorge, and had a good care to our going, and so much of speed as we could make, that we come something off from the dark land of the lesser redoubt, so quick as we might. And in 6 hours we had gone very well, and we stopped then that we eat and drink, and afterward I looked again to the feet of the maid. And I bathed them in a great rock basin of warm water that did be anigh to the place of our eating, and afterward I put the ointment about them very thorough and gentle, and for a good while, and so she had some ease and comfort. And afterward we made onward again, but now we did go pretty easy, for I had considered the notings of mine outward journey, and so did perceive that we should be but 6 or 7 hours off that part of the gorge, where did be the slugs. And I was minded that we rest and sleep ere that we make through that dire and dreadful place, and to have no rest or pause until that we did be safe outward again, as you shall think. And so did we need to be strong and well rested, and this to be wise also for the feet of the maid. Now surely the maid did be in delight of the fires of that part of the gorge, where we were come, and she had beside a rest of the soul. Oh. Okay. Never mind. My brain did not understand what was being said there. Oh, thanks for tuning in, Frank Misers. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone who celebrates that. Now surely the maid did be in delight of the fires of that part of the gorge where we were come, and she had beside a rest of the soul, in that she had feeling that there did be no evil force to trouble us to our destruction, and I bothered her not yet a while with tellings of the horrid place that we should to journey through in a while, as you do know. And so we did go, and alway with a good caution, lest that some beast or creature should come upon us, and alway with the fire-holes before and behind, and in the air of the gorge the little whistlings of steam, that did spurt out in this place and that, and a good warmth in many parts, by reason of the fires, and odd whiles a smelling of sulphur, but not greatly, nor to our trouble. And alway the low muttering of the fire-holes and pits, and the red lights, and the dancing of the shadows, when that we did go by. A fire-pit. Oh, there is not a comma there. And the dancing of the shadows, when that we did go by a fire-pit, where the fire did frisk and burn lively. And upon either side the grim walls of the gorge, going up measureless into the night. And so we were gone presently, pretty comfortable, for 6 good hours, since last that we eat. And we made halt, and eat, and drank, and I showed the maid how that we should make a short journey that day, and sleep, and so be ready to the horrid journey through the dark part of the gorge, where the slugs did be. And we made search then that we have a safe place to our slumber, and surely I perceived where we did be, for we came upon that same cave where I did sleep after that I was come free of the slugs, and that we were come no farther, doth show how okay. And we made search then that we have a safe place to our slumber, and surely I perceived where we did be, for we came upon that same cave where I did sleep after I was come free of the slugs. And that we were come no farther doth show how easy did be our present going, and this you do know. And there did be the spring where I washed, and the fire-hole anigh, and truly they were not like to be gone away, as you shall say. Yet did we exclaim, very natural, for the maid did be so deep in interest of the matters of my coming, and to be at once that no other place should serve for our rest and slumber. And indeed this was a natural thing, and the place so good as any, save that I did wish it had been upward unto a high place of the gorge, as you shall understand. But yet might we block the mouth part of the cave with boulders, somewise as I did before, and so to have a defence against any thing that should make to enter upon our sleep, or at the least to be wakened by the falling of the boulders. Now mine own went inward of the little cave, which did be very light from the fire pit that was to the front, but before that she did go, I made a swift search of the place, that there should be no creeping thing, and truly it was sweet and free. And the maid did be strangely taken that she should come to the veritable place where once I did lie on mine outward way, and truly I do understand, and so shall many that do have these feelings about matters. And afterward we went unto the hot spring that was in the hollow of the rock, anigh to the fire pit. And I saw that there did be no snakes, neither any of the rat things anigh. And so I had the maid to sit very comfortable on the side of the pool, and I freed her shoes, and bathed her feet, and afterward rubbed them very steady with the ointment, and so for a good time, and alway to keep a looking out upon the gorge. And presently, when that I had taken a loving care of her pretty feet, I tied the shoes again upon the maid, and so back to the cave, and the two of us to carry boulders according to our strength. And when we had a sufficient, we builded a rough and clumsy wall. After that we were gone into the cave, and the wall rose nigh to fill the mouth of the cave, and made us to be somewise in darkness, but yet to feel in safety. And I had a good heed to make the chinks of the wall very close in the bottom, so that no small creeping thing should come through unto us whilst that we slept. And afterward Naani set the scrip and the pouch to be for my pillow, but had the bundle of her torn garments to be for her own purpose. And I perceived that she had the water powder and a pack of the tablets to her hand for our waking, that she might prepare our food, and mayhap to wake a little before me, so that she have all ready to greet me from my sleep. But indeed I said naught to show that I knew, for I saw that this thing did give her a dear pleasure, and truly it was very sweet to have her to those gentle duties, that did be to her so sure and quiet a delight. And mine own bade me that I lie, and she put the discos upon the outward side of me to mine hand, and with a dainty and fearful touch, for the weapon did be very dreadful unto her thoughts, but yet a comforting thing to abide for our defence. And afterward she covered me with the cloak, and kissed me very sedate upon the lips, and then to her own side, and to come very nice and happy under the cloak, and so to her rest. And presently she did sleep, as I perceived by her breathing, and surely it did seem to my spirit that she had an utter and dear content in this arranging of our slumber, so that she did be all at peace in her being, because that she did be nigh unto me, that did be her own love. But indeed I could not sleep for a time, and surely in a while mine own did nestle unto me in her sleep, so sweet and dear as a child, and likewise as that it did be her right to be so anigh unto me, and I to be that I should put my arms about her. I'm going to retry this paragraph from the top. Sentence. But indeed I could not sleep for a time, and surely in a while mine own did nestle unto me in her sleep, so sweet and dear as a child, and likewise as that it did be her right to be so anigh unto me. And I to be that I should put mine arms about her, but indeed I moved not, neither did I kiss her, as I did wish, for truly I should be very manly with mine own maid, that did be so trustful and utter mine in her sleep. And presently I was over unto slumber also, and stirred not for 8 good hours, and did wake then to the hissing of the water, so that I knew mine own was awake before me, as she had planned, and was making ready that we eat. And when she saw me move in the half-light, she gave out a little word of joy, that I did be again to knowledge of her, and she came over, and put her arms about my neck, and kissed me very loving thrice upon the lips. And in verity it came to me in that moment that I had been kissed a while gone in my dreams, but scarce to know it. Yet I perceived now that mine own had taken a naughty advantaging of my slumber, that she kissed me to her own pleasure. Yet did the maid say no word of her naughtiness, and I to be likewise, but to resolve that I waken, mayhaps, on the next time, and so catch her in her sweet and secret delight of me. And truly, this doth sound quaint, but to be true. And I rose, and took down the half of the wall that did be across the mouth of the cave, and afterward looked out. But there was no sight of any horrid thing in the gorge, save that one of the rat things did slumber, very gorged seeming, upon the side of the little fire-hole. And afterwards we eat and drank, and the maid then to rub me, as before, for I was greatly stiff on my waking, as you shall think. But she came not into mine arms presently, as I did hope, but only kissed mine shoulders, when that she had finished, and so bid me to dress. Yet, after that I was dressed, and had mine armour full upon me, she must come unto me, and she slipped her 2 small hands into the one of mine, and so stood by me, very silent. And sudden she put up her lips very quiet and passionate, that I should kiss her, and she kissed me once, as it did be that her spirit kissed mine, and all her being came unto me, and she gave me but that one kiss, and afterwards slipped her hands very gentle from mine, and made to the gathering of our gear. But truly I that loved her so great knew that a tumult of love did be hid in her heart. And indeed she looked once at me in such And indeed she looked wow. Okay. What he's saying is she gave him a glance in the eyes to that effect. But truly I that loved her so great knew that a tumult of love did be hid in her heart. And indeed she looked once at me in such wise that I grew near to a true humbleness of heart, because of the honour and love that did be in her eyes. And surely it is a very little thing to die for such an one as mine own did be. And by this saying shall you perceive my heart in that moment, and that I did pant, as it were, that I do some deed of love to show my love. And truly this is but a natural desiring, and human, and the cause proper to the uplifting of manhood. And surely you shall all mind you of such feelings in the past love days, that I do pray should never be past. And when we had our gear together, I left it in the cave, and took mine own over unto the hot pool that was anigh to the fire-pit, and she to exclaim upon the rat thing that did be yet a slumber upon the side of the fire-pit, and I to say that the thing did be no cause for fear, but rather, indeed, a good friend, in that it was a devourer of snakes, as you shall mind. And while that we talked, I bathed the little feet of Naani, and surely, as I dried them upon my pocket-cloth, I was taken that I should kiss them, and surely I kissed them, and they did be very shapely and dainty, and all eased of travel by the care that I did take to this end. And afterward I rubbed them with the ointment for a good while, and so had them again into the shoes, and the maid very quiet, after that I had kissed her feet that did be so dainty, but yet with a sweet naughtiness in her way, as my heart perceived, though she did nothing, neither said anything to this end, and was truly very obedient, and orderly to all my wishes. No. You'd be surprised how easy it is to not talk exactly like this all the time, because this is hard. Setting aside the foot talk, and the feet, and if you're into that, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of foots in this. There's quite a lot of talk of feet. Quite a lot of feet talk. So no, I do not find it particularly difficult myself to keep from falling into saying things as you Okay, so I'll admit I've probably said as you shall think sometimes, because that lives in my head rent-free now. I probably have done that once or twice since reading this a year or two ago, as you shall think. Anyway, actually, it was probably only like... Nah, it was the better part of a year ago. It wasn't quite a full year. It has not been long since I was introduced to the Nightland. Anyway. And we went back then to the cave, and the maid put the pot of the ointment back into the pouch, and she buckled the pouch and the scrip upon me, and the discos I had upon my hip, for I went nowise anywhere without it, as you shall suppose. And she had the little bundle of her clothing for her burden, and truly I was ready that she should carry so much, for we did be to act wisely, and she well able to carry so small a thing, and I better to have my hands alway free to the discos, and to the needs of the way. And we went downward of the gorge at a strong speed, for there did be somewise of 15 hours' good journey, ere that we come out upon the far side of that place where the monsters did be, and this did be 3 hours to the upward beginning of that place, and 12 hours' journey then, in the least, that we should take to go through again into the light of the gorge below. And this I did reckon from my notings of mine upward journey, as you do know. And I made all clear to the maid of the thing that did be before us, and made not to hide the danger and horror, but yet to make not over much of the same, and she to walk very close beside me, very sweet and trustful, and to say that she feared not, so that I should be there to have care of her, but only that she did fear harm for me, and yet to have confidence that I should slay all hurtful things that should be like to trouble us. And truly I did kiss her for her dear belief and love. Smooches. Now, in the middle part of the 3rd hour, the air of the gorge did begin that it was heavy, and to have a seeming of fumes that stang something upon the throat, old whiles. And there were presently less of the fire-holes, and soon, as we did go the more downward, the beginnings of a great gloom, and to have smoke therein that made us to feel husky. And in the end of the 4th hour we were come truly far downward within the gloom, and to be as dyslexia, and to be as that we groped in a fog of distaste, and to know not how that we went with any surety, for oft there did be an utter darkness about us, and a while the shine of a dull glowing fire-pit upon our sight, that did show us the gloom and dread of that place. And we went alway very hushed, and the maid to my back, but I did halt now and this time, and make to know how she did be, and surely she whispered very brave to me through the dimness, and once did slip her hand into mine, and I to take off mine armoured glove for a little moment, that I hold her hand, and give her a nice assurance. But in verity there was terror in mine heart, that did be a terror far beyond the trouble of mine upward way, and surely I was shaken newly with every danger, lest that I should lose mine own, or she to come to any hurt. And indeed you shall perceive how I did be, for so should you be in a like case, and in truth it doth be an utter anxiousness and suffering. Now, when we had been 2 hours in the dark part of the gorge, I smelled of the... Okay, I'll try it again. Now, when we had been 2 hours in the dark part of the gorge, I smelled of the dread and horrid stink that you do wot of. And surely a great fear came upon me, for I perceived that we did come among the monsters, or that one came anigh to us. And I whispered unto the maid that she halt, and we stood very hushed a while, and surely the stink did grow, and to be very dreadful in the nostrils, so that I felt mine own maid to shake somewhat with the fear and disgust that this thing did make in us. And presently the stinking did ease somewhat from about us, but whether there had gone past us a monster slug, I have no sure knowing, for there did be no fire pit anigh to that place, so that there was a great darkness all about. And surely there was a great slowness and wetness of the air, and dismal drippings that made desolation in the silence, and the feel of strange growths upon the boulders, as you do know, and oft a horrid slime and dankness, and the stink to be everywhere, so that we knew a constant disgust and fear. And alway the fumings of sulphur, that did seem in verity to beat down upon us, utter heavy and sore upon our lungs. And so we went onward amid the smell that did be as of dead things, and oft did we make pause and hark, and had a great care as we did go by the dull fire holes and fire pits, that we should make no showing of ourselves in the light. And sudden, as we did go by a great pit that burned very deep and red, I reached back and caught mine own by the arm, and I set her gaze unto the right side of the gorge, which was beyond the fire. And the maid went very still, as she did see the thing that was there, for in verity it was utter monstrous, and did shine very wet-looking in the light of the fire. And truly it moved a little with the head, this way and that, stretching through the dark and the shadows, as you shall see a slug to move, and with no speed or sound, and nowise seeming heedful of aught. But yet did I fear that it smelled us, if this might be, and this, as you shall think, to be a very natural fear. And alway, as I do mind, it seemed to go blindly somewise, or to have that slow and strange moving that doth make one to think of a blindness. But whether it did be truly blind, how shall I say? Only that it was an utter monstrous brute, so great as the black hull of a ship, and very dreadful unto our hearts. And we moved not for a while, save that I pulled mine own down into the hiding of the boulders of that part, and she to put her hand very anxious unto me, yet not to be comforted, as I did have to think, but to persuade me, lest that I go to some adventuring that should set me in a surer danger. And this I perceived in a little moment, and loved her for her care. But indeed I had no mind to aught, save that we come clear of that place, and I watched the monster through places between the boulders, and surely in a little while it swayed the great head very slow and quiet unto the cliff that did make the side of the gorge. And the brute set unto the cliff, and began that it went upward with a strange moving of muscles that did go wavewise unto the wet and horrid gleaming hide. And so, in a little time, it was gone quiet against the cliff, and the head part did be upward in the darkness above, so that it did be from our sight. But the monster body did be plain for a great way, and was seeming clung to the cliff, and to come downward out of the dark, as that it did be a great black ridge of soft and dreadful life upon the face of the cliff, and the tail was something less bulked, and to taper, and did trail outward into the gorge upon the boulders. And surely the thing did seem as that it slept, but that odd whiles the tail did lift a little off the boulders, and curl somewise, and afterward come down again upon the boulders, mayhap in this place, and mayhap in that place, as we did watch, all hid. And it was as that our sense and our spirits did assure us that the thing had no wotting of us, but surely our fears did nigh to equal the comfort of this sweet reason, and to make us think otherwise. Yet in a time I made that we go forward together through the spaces that did be among the boulders, and I went creeping, and the maid to follow likewise. And oft I did pause, and made a watching upon the monster, but truly it moved not, save as I have told, and I kept a great heed upon the maid, that she follow alway close unto my feet. And in the end we came safe from that place where the monster did be clung unto the great cliff in the night. And we went then for 2 great hours without adventure, save that once the maid touched me that we pause, for that something went by us where we did be in an utter dark place of the gorge, and no fire-hole anigh. And I knew that the thing did be near, even as the maid touched me. And I caught the maid in the dark, and thrust her under the side of a boulder, and I crouched then before her with mine armour, that I should protect her from any brutish thing. And the discourse in my hand, and afterward an horrid time of waiting. And the stink of that part of the gorge grew very dreadful, so that it did be as that we should not breathe with the horror of the stink. And there went past us some horrid and utter monster, that made neither sound nor anything, save that there seemed a strange noise that might be the breathing of a great thing, but yet did be all uncertain, in that the sides of the gorge cast the sound this way and that, in an horrid whispering of echoes, so that we did not know whether the sound be made nigh to us, or far upward in the eternity of the night, where I did suppose the mountains to be joined over the gorge in a monstrous roof in that part. And presently the strange noisings died in the upward height, and all about us, and the utter disgust of the stink went from us, so that we knew that the monster had gone past us, and did make downward through the dark gorge, and mayhap then to some lone and dreadful cavern of the world, as I did think. And indeed, as I do mind, I had a sudden wonder at that time, and other whiles, as it did chance, whether this way did be truly to the olden way that the peoples of the lesser refuge did travel in the olden days. And surely, as I did suppose, they had come some other way, or the gorge to be different and less dreadful in the far-off years. And this thing you shall agree with me to be a reasonable thinking. And after that the monster had gone a good while, And after that the monster had gone a good while, we went onward again, and with a great caution, and dreading alway lest that we come upon that monster in the darkness, but yet did we know by smell, and by all our consciousness, whether that we came nigh unto one of the monster slugs. Then, in the end of the 5th hour in the dark part of the gorge, we came by the mouth of that great cavern upon our left, and you to remember the same. And I made pause in the darkness, and had the maid very gentle by the arm, that she should look with me. And I whispered how that I passed this place to my right upon mine upward way, and how that I did think there to be a plenty of monster caverns within the mountain that made the sides of the gorge, and that, mayhap, the slug creatures had there an home in such places, or came up, it might be, from some utter strange deepness and mystery of the great world. Where is the next now? Geez, it's been pages. Okay, I have a couple more to go. And the maid did bide very close unto me, and silent, whilst that I whispered, for the terror of the place did be on her, yet not to make her lacking of courage, but yet to put a monstrous awe upon her, and a great and natural fear, and I likewise, as you do know. And we stayed there, where we did be, a little moment, and looked downward into the bowels of the monster cavern, and the shine of the fire-hole beat over the cavern in the near part, but there did be an utter mystery and deathly dark beyond the shining of the pit that did be within, as you shall remember. And in verity, as we stayed but to glance, I perceived that there lay humped things about the fire, and some to be black-seeming, and some to have a seeming of whiteness, but with no sureness in the colour to mine eyes. And there came moving in one of the humped thing, and there came a moving in one of the humped things, so that it did be as that an hill did wake unto an horrid life. And immediately I knew that the humps did be some utter monsters, mayhaps even the great slugs, a slumber about the fire-pit that did burn in that strange deeply cavern. And I saw that I did ill for our lives, that I should pause even for a little moment to such staring. And immediately I whispered to mine own that we go with all our speed, for indeed I knew not whether that our nearness had waked that monster, or whether that it had but waked by chance. And truly I was utter eager that we be gone from that place, so swift as we might. And we went on then through all of the 6th hour that we did be in the slug part of the gorge, as I named it unto myself. And in all that hour there did nothing harmful come anigh, only, as I did know presently, that there came an unease upon our spirits, but yet to be very little at that time, and we to be scarce knowing of it. And alway as we went there did be darkness for the most, and odd whiles a vague murmuring of the night far above, as it did seem, and presently the dull glare of a fire-pit to shine out far off below us in the gorge, and to seem very dim and unreal unto us, by reason of the smokes and the fumes that made a haze and a distaste in the gorge. And presently the murmuring of the night to grow somewhat, and afterward the sound of the muttering of the fire-pit to come unto us, and the murmuring to die unto our ears that did be hearing now only the dull muttering, and so we to know that the murmuring of the night did be truly the far-off muttering of the fire-holes, and our eyes to guide our hearing, and our reason to explain and knit the sounds, and so we to pass by the fire-hole with a great quiet and caution, and ever with watchfulness, as you shall suppose. And afterward again into the dark, and presently again the murmuring, to tell that we came unto another of the fire-pits, that was yet afar off in the gorge, and made dim echoes in the night. And alway we went very watchful, and in grim fear, but with steadfastness and good intention to win forth out of that desolation and horror, and having alway so great a speed as the darkness and the dangers and the trouble of the way did allow. And in this place I will make explanation why that I speak somewhiles of fire-pits and otherwise of fire-holes. For the holes did be those fires that burned nigh to the brim of the holes, but the pits were those places where the fire was deeply in the earth. And this thing I shall give for your enlightenment, even on a small matter, so that you shall have a clear knowledge to abide with me all the way, and you to agree of this for wisdom, and I to be pleased that you so agree. Oh my God. You'll agree that this is smart, and I'll agree that you agree. I'm glad that you agree. Oh my Lord, dude. And this thing I give for your enlightenment, even on a small matter, so that you shall have a clear knowledge to abide with me all the way. And you to agree of this for wisdom, and I to be pleased that you so agree. And here also I should tell that there did not come a muttering from all of the fire-holes and the fire-pits, but mayhap from this one, and mayhap not from that one, according to the way of the fire therein. And this shall be plain unto you. And so shall you see us go, and the smoke and the bitterness of the sulphur to be all about us, and odd whiles the murmuring of a far-off pit, and oft the utter silence, and to pass this time a lonesome fire-hole, and afterward the utter dark, or the half-gloom, all as might chance, according to the nearness of the fires. And upward in the everlasting night the grim mountains to make a roof over us, as I did suppose. And all this while did the unease of which I have told make upon us, so that presently mine own whispered unto me the thing that already my spirit did half to perceive, that there came after us through the night some harmful thing, that did be surely no great way off, as I did feel within me, and the maid to have a likeways belief. And truly I thought at once upon that brute that did wake downward in the mighty cavern, where did be the great inward fire-hole, as I have told. But whether this did be true knowledge, that we did be chased in the dark by that thing, or whether there came after us some other monster, I could have no sureness, but only that we did be chased, and of this I had assuredness. And I set the maid before me, that I have myself ready to the danger that followed, and we made forward again then, so quick as we were abled, and she went very wisely, for she had good wit, and had noted the ways of my leading. And we went thus until the end of the 7th hour, And surely in that time we heard the murmuring in the night which told of a fire-hole somewise before us, and soon to have the red glare plain to our eyes, and the noise of the murmuring to die away into the nearer mutter of the fire, and so presently to be an eye, and we to make forward with a good speed, because that we feared utterly the thing that made quiet chase of us through the night. And oft I did look backward, and smelt the air, that I know whether it did be a monster slug beast that chased us, but there did be no worseness of the smell, to tell me aught. And alway I did be fretted in the heart that we could make no greater speed, but indeed, as you shall perceive, our going did be but a slow thing in the dark places, and even thus we had many a sore tumbling and bruising. And by this we were come almost unto the fire-hole, and immediately I saw that I knew the place, for there went upward beside the fire a great jaggedness of rock, that I had seen upon mine upward way. And surely I caught the maid in an instant, and bent her, and she quick to obey with her body. And we were both immediately hid downward among the boulders. And this I did, because I minded how that there did be many of the monsters nigh to this same fire-hole, as I did go upon mine upward way. And we went forward then with an utter care, but yet to keep onward, because that there did be somewhat in chase of us. And in verity, when that we were come opposite unto the fire-hole, I saw that there did be 7 of the monster slugs against the far side of the gorge, and did be all set upon their bellies against the cliff, and their horrid heads to be hid in the upward dark, and their tails to lie very great and soft-seeming in the bottom of the gorge, upon the boulders. And lo, the maid touched me, and she drew me to look upon the near cliff of the gorge. And truly there did be 3 of the brutish things laid upward there, and a 4th did be humped somewhat upon a great ledge that did be upward of the gorge, and just to be plain to our eyes. And surely it was as that we did be all surrounded by such monsters, and to make the heart sink and fear to lie upon our hopefulness. But indeed the maid showed a good spirit, and I to have fierce determination that we come free of that gorge, and afterward, in time, unto our mighty home. And we made forward again, and did go creeping among the rocks and the boulders, and so came presently past that place, and had not waked the monsters, if that indeed they did truly sleep. And I made halt a moment upon the far border of the light from the fire-hole, and I looked backward up the gorge, perchance that I should see the thing that followed us. But indeed there came nothing out of the dark of the upward gorge, so that I knew there did be some safe space to our backs, which did be truly a comforting thing. And here I should tell how that there was no great stinking in that place where did be so many of the slug beasts, and this to puzzle me, and in the end to make me think that some of those horrid things did stench more great than others, but yet I have no certainty in this matter, as you do perceive. And truly this thing troubled me, for I had been comforted that my nose should tell me when that the thing that made chase of us should draw nigh in the darkness. And now, in verity, I knew not what to have for assurance, for the awareness of the spirit was but a vague thing, and no more in such a matter than a feeling as of an inward warning. And we went onward then for a great hour, and with an horrid unease upon us, and thrice, that is a semicolon, you must notice those and take pause. And we went onward then for a great hour, and with an horrid unease upon us. And thrice we did go by fire pits in the darkness, and alway I made pause upon the far side of the light, that I should look backward, but did have no sight of aught. Yet did my spirit or my fears warn me with new fear, and a greater sense of nearness, and the maid to confess also to this thing.
Frank Miser says, have you ever read The Book of the New Sun? Also a space opera set a few million years in the future. I have not read it. The title is very familiar, though. Either you or someone else has recommended it to me sometime in the recent past.
as I do think, as I do wot, as I have wotting of. Oh yes, I will add wot, and everyone will look at me funny. It will be good. Add wot to my vocab. Anyway, I will look into that, for sure. I'm a sucker for such things. Who's that one by? I'll probably know the author. Anyway. Now we saw not any of the slugs for a long while, neither had there been any about the 3 fire holes, and the air of the gorge was grown something sweet, and free somewhat of the stench of dead-seeming things, but yet to be very bitter with fumings and smoke and sulphur stinks. And lo, in the middle of the 10th hour as we did go, painful and with anxiousness in a very dark place of the gorge, there came unto us again the smell that told to us that one of the monsters did be anigh. And surely we had both a great fear, in that we had belief that it did be a sign that the thing that made chase did draw near upon us. But yet did I to use my reason also, and to know that the stink might be from some monster that we were come nigh to in the darkness of that place. And I whispered this unto the maid, and she to say, very hushed, that it might be so, but to have no belief, and I to be likewise, as you do see. And we pushed forward at a new speed, and had many bitter falls, so that we did be all bruised, but not to know it at that time, because that our fear did be so keen. And oft we made a little pause and harked, but there did be only the dismal drip of water from on high, and presently the murmur of the night, that told that we drew near unto a new fire-pit. And surely this was a great easement to our spirits, in that we should have light to perceive our danger, and mayhap to win free. But to be in that utter dark was a thing to break the courage, and to breed belief that we did be utter helpless, and all wrapped in horror and despair. Gene Wolfe is definitely a familiar name. I have not read that one. I'll have to look it up. Thank you for the suggestion. And the stink grew ever, as we made forward, so that I knew not whether there did be great monsters beside the fire-pit that was to our front, as I have told, or whether it made plain the advancing of our pursuer. And we only to be able to make our best speed, and to be weary with hope that we rush not blind into death, and alway to be chilled in the back with the belief that the thing that made chase did be very close in that utter dark, and to gain upon us. And we knew not whether to make our belief to be the tellings of the Spirit or the utterings of our fears, and so shall you perceive our plight, and we but to be able to make forward. And in verity the dreadfulness of that time doth shake me now to think upon, and you also, if that you have gotten my tellings to your hearts, so that your human sympathy doth be with me. And there came presently to our ears the far mutter of the fire-pit, so that very soon the murmuring was lost to us in the night, and only the slow mutter to be plain. And the dull looming of the fire shone afar off, through the night and the smoke and fumings, and we to a great speed, and to pant with fear, but yet with a freshness of hope again to sweeten us. Sweeten us. There we go. And we came nigh to the fire-pit, and lo, the smell did be grown very drear and foul, but there did be no slug-beasts near the fire. And by this we perceived that we did be truly in an utter danger, in that the pursuer did be upon us, and the stinking to tell this to be truth, and our spirits to have warned us very strong and proper. And I looked very keen first to this side, and then did run overward, and I looked more closely upon the other. Oh, wait. Whoops. I skipped a paragraph sentence. And I stopped near to the fire-pit, which did be great, and very red glowing, and I looked upward of the gorge, into the night of the gorge that we did come from, but the monster was not yet upon us to work our death. And I looked to the sides of the gorge, and the maid to have the same thought that did be mine, that we climbed the mountains that made the sides of the gorge. And I looked very keen first to this side, and then did run overward, that I look more close upon the other, and afterward back again, for it did seem that we should have a greater ease upon the side that we did be. And I asked the maid whether that she did be prepared, and she to be very white and wearied, and all besmirched with the darkness and growths upon the boulders, and the hidden pools of the gorge, and the dripping of the waters. But yet did she be sound in her courage, and to show that she had all belief and abiding in me, and her judgment likewise to be with mine, in that her own reason did approve. And I took the bundle of her torn clothing from her, for it did be at her girdle, and like to trouble her movings, but she to refuse, very determined, in that I did be already overburdened. And I to be very firm in my deciding, and to make her to yield the bundle, the which I hooked unto the hold of the discos, where it did be to mine hip. And the maid to be there, a little figure, and white in the face, and strangely angered, and her anger mixed with hidden acknowledgment that I did be her master, and half to be minded that she move not from where she did stand, and part to be reasonable and fearful of the hidden beast, and in part also to thrill in her womanhood unto the man that did be so masterful unto her. And all to pass in a little moment, and we to be to the gorge side, and busied very eager to the climb. And the maid to be first, as I did heed, and I to follow, and have constant looking to the task and to her safety, and alway to be bitter anxious for our speed to be good, and to be anxious the more then, lest that mine own should slip, for there did be an horrid wetness upon the sides of the gorge, as you shall have guessed, and horrid growths that blotched the great rocks mightily, and made an utter slipperiness, if that they did be trod upon, and we to have to come so clear of all such matters as we might, and yet to be speedy for our lives, and likewise to lack no care and thought to the setting of our hands and of our feet in places fitted to the lifting of our weight. And truly you shall see that we went very desperate, and I to give word to the maid that she look not downward, the which I was urgent upon, lest that she come giddy in the heart. But I, as you shall think, could scarce keep from fearful peerings below, so that I learned speedy whether the pursuer did come yet into the light of the fire-hole beneath. And presently the maid did gasp very weak and troubled with the soreness of the climb, and I came higher, and set mine arm about her, as we did be there upon the face of the cliff. And she stopped very still a little while, and an ease did come to her, and an assurance of safety. And surely I kissed her there where we did be in that upward place, and her lips did tremble unto mine, and her courage and strength to come back to her, so that in a minute she did make once more to the climbing. And we came presently to a place where a great ledge did be, that jutted out from the mighty cliff, and was surely a huge way above the gorge bottom. And the ledge sloped, and there were on the ledge great stones and boulders that did make lodgment there through eternity. And I looked very careful to our way, and saw that we did be in the path of a mighty rock that was over nigh unto the edge of the shelf place, and did put fear upon me, in that it seemed that it should come down. Well, okay, I got lost. And I looked very careful to our way, and saw that we did be in the path of a mighty rock that was over nigh unto the edge of the shelf place, and did put fear upon me, in that it seemed that it should come down with great thundering upon us, if that we but shook the place where it did be. And I caught the maid very swift and gentle, and shaped our path unto one side of that great rock, and did presently lose my fear, when that we did come safe from under it. And in a minute after we were come upward upon the ledge, and a very safe place it did seem, and surely as that no monster should be able to come upward upon us. And this I did try to make for comfort unto ourselves, but that we both to know how great the slug, And this I did try to make for comfort unto ourselves, but that we both to know how that the great slug could lie up against the sides of the gorge. Okay. And this I did try to make for comfort unto ourselves, but that we both to know how that the great slugs could lie up against the sides of the gorge, and surely it did be like that they should I got lost and can't read. Good, because of line breaks and the text. And this I did try to make for... Okay, I'm going to take the paragraph from the top. And in a minute... Have I mentioned that the way this is written is quite challenging? I can read it in my head just fine. I cannot read it aloud very well. Anyway... And in a minute after, we were come upward upon the ledge, and a very safe place it did seem, as surely as that no monster should be able to come upward upon us. And this I did try to make for comfort unto ourselves, but that we both to know how that the great slugs could lie up against the sides of the gorge, and surely it did be like that they should be able to come upward clear of the gorge, and so to the place where we made to have safety. And I had no thought to deny this thing, when that it was clear to my brain, but set rather that we should have some way to fight the monster, if that we did be discovered. And I thought in a moment upon the stones that did be about, and the maid in the same moment cried out that we should push the big rock down upon the slug, that we believed to have chase of us, and indeed the rock to be a great weapon, if we could but stir it, as you shall think. And alway, as we talked, very hushed, we looked downward into the deepness of the gorge, unto the upward end of the firelight, but there came no thing yet unto our knowledge, only that the stinking did rise up to us through that great distance. And the fire pit to seem now a very small burning, and to give no great light up to us, and we neither to be able to see very clear of the gorge bottom, in that the haze of the fumes and the smoke was in the air of the gorge, and made uncertainty, and we to be nowise proper free of the smoke, even where we did be. And we watched, very set with anxiousness, and fearful expecting of the monster. And did be both yet lost of breath, and that the maid said she made her words some... And the maid... What? Okay, fine. I'm embarrassing myself. And we watched, very set with anxiousness and fearful expecting of the monster, and did be both yet lost of breath, and the maid that she made her words... something broken for a little while. Whatever that means. I really have no idea what that means. My brain is not putting that one together. Yes, I know they're sitting very set with anxiousness and fearful expecting, and they're short of breath, and the maid that she made her words something broken for a little while. I'm not really sure. I guess he's indicating that she's pant, gasping, and can't talk good. I don't really know. The way that's written is just mangled English. And the maid that she made her words something broken for a little while. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway. Let's spice it up. And lo, in a moment Naani cried out very low and sharp that the thing did come, and I to see a moving of somewhat, in the same instant, in the gorge that lay upon the upward side of the fire pit. And immediately I saw the great and monster head of the beast come forward into the shine from the pit, and the head did be of a blotched white, and to have the eyes upon great stalks that came from the forward part of the head, and the stalks to be set downward, so that the eyes looked upon the bottom parts of the gorge. And surely this doth be very horrid seem into the mind of this age, but yet to have a less strangeness unto the two of us that had seen many horrid sights, as you do know. And as the monster came forward the more into the light, I saw that the great and utter mighty bulk did be all of that same whiteness, and did be so set over with blotchings and the seeming of unhealth. But truly the colour was proper to a creature that did abide in so great a darkness, as you shall say, and yet had those slugs that we did see, been black and shining for the most, as I have told, and this to be as I saw, and I to not heed here, that I try unto explaining in this place. Else should I be never eased of my task, as you do see. I'm going to try that again, because he breaks off into an entirely different narrative later. And as the monster came forward the more into the light, I saw that the great and utter mighty bulk did be all of that same whiteness, that did be so set over with blotchings and the seeming of unhealth. But truly the colour was proper to a creature that did abide in so great a darkness, as you shall say. Yet had those slugs that we did see been black and shining for the most, as I have told, and this to be as I saw, and I not to heed here that I try unto explainings in this place. Else should I be never eased of my task, as you do see. Basically, he's saying, if I keep explaining things, I'll never stop writing. I'll never stop explaining them, because it's so alien. And the monster slug came onward as it did go. And as it did go, and the monster slug came onward, and as it did go, it set the stalks of the eyes in among the boulders, as that it did search, swayed now this way and now that way, from side to side of the gorge, and alway it pushed the stalks of the eyes inward among the boulders, and so to go forward, searching. And truly it was very dreadful to see the thing make search for us, and to go so steadfast to so dread a purpose. And indeed I saw it not so plain as might be, because of the haze and the fumes and the smoke that did lie in the air of the gorge, as I have told, and made something vague the sight at this time and that. But yet we did both see a strange thing, for when that the great white body did become half into the light, the slug beast set out a big tongue among the boulders, after that it did peer thereunder. And the tongue did be very long and white, and something thin seeming, and the monster lapped inward in a moment a great snake from among the boulders, and the tongue did hold upon the snake, as that there did be surely teeth or roughness upon the tongue, but yet the distance to be too great for any surety of the sight, as you do know, and moreover, there did be the uncertainty of the haze within the air. And the slug took the haze inward, and it didn't take any haze inward, what are you talking about? And the slug took the snake inward, all as it did lash and wriggle, and swallowed it in a moment. And in verity, that snake did be a big and horrid creature, else it had been not so plain to our sight, but it did be as a worm unto the monster, and gone instant. And immediately the slug beast went again to searching, and the head to sway from this side unto that side of the gorge, and by the wideness and ease of this swaying shall you perceive the utter greatness of the beast. Oh no, he wants an Australian accent? Okay, let me get to the next now. And alway, as it did come downward of the gorge, it thrust the stalks of the eyes inward among the boulders, looking all ways, and oft the breath did come from it as a cloud, and the stink to rise up unto us very plain and an abomination. And again we saw the beast set the tongue in among the boulders of the gorge bottom, and it licked forth a snake that did seem so thick as a man in the body, and the snake to thrash in the great white tongue, and to be immediately drawn inward, and gone utter. And surely, as the thought did stir in me, there did be a great mercy over us, in that we did not die by such a serpent in some dark and horrid place of the gorge. But yet, as it is like to be, mayhap the snakes did be only a nigh to the fire holes, yet doth it be anywise a wondrous thing that we had come so free of them alway, and truly to learn was to be given a new terror. Now for the hard part. Okay, where's the next now after the one I'm about to hit? Because I could be having to do this a long time. Oh, jeez. Oh, I don't know how long I can speak like this. Oh, my lord, it just keeps going. There is no now. There is no Okay, there it is. It's only 5 pages later. Well, now to embarrass myself utter. Sorry to any Australians listening. I'm going to mangle you. I am so sorry. Now the monster was come fully into the shining of the fire pit, and was upon this side, and the fire to make a shining against the side of the slug, so that odd whiles I did perceive very plain the huge wrinklings and muslings of the skin, as the beast made onward. And alway it did search, thrusting in the eye stalks among the boulders. And sudden it made pause, and did begin that it brought all the mighty body together, and humped itself, and brought the head part round unto the bottom of the cliff that made this side of the gorge. And it gathered itself, and afterward did lengthen upward against the cliff, and begin to climb. And lo, I saw that the beast did scent of us, and made to come upward to destroy us. And as the mighty hill of the body did come into the length against the great cliff side, yes, I did say that rightly, I think. And as the mighty hill of the body did come into length against the great cliffside, the beast set the eye stalks into this cave and that, as it did go, and into all crannies, and so lengthened upward, very straight and monstrous and dreadful unto us, and did be as a white and mildewed hill that had an horrid life. And the stink to come up, so that we did be like to lose our breath with the dreadfulness of it, as you shall think. And surely, for a moment, I looked onto the rocks upon the ledge, and this way and that way, and upward into the everlasting darkness that did be above us, and again into the great rock that did seem to quiver upon the edge, as I have told. And I was grown utter desperate in a moment, for truly it did seem in that instant that there did be no power in the world that should slay so utter mighty a monster. And immediately, even as I did despair, I had run very swift unto the great rock, and the maid with me, both very strained and shaken with the horror of that thing that did make upward unto us so sure an intent. And I set my strength unto the rock and heaved, but indeed the rock gave not from the place where it did be, so that I'd had a dreadful despair, for I saw that it did be more secure than it seemed. And the maid lent her strength unto mine, and we heaved together, with sore pantings, and little cries to guide our endeavours, and because we could not be contained in that moment. And surely it seemed that the great rock moved, and lo, as we strove together to the task, there came a vast and sudden grinding, and the rock to cease from our shoulders, and to be gone from us, or scarce we did wot of the happening. And the rock went over, and rushed downward upon the monster, and with mighty crashings, as it did grind and crush the face of the cliffside with a quick and constant thundering. And I caught the maid as she did stagger upon that dire upward edge, because that she had set her strength so utter to the endeavour, and the rock to be gone so sudden as you do see, and she to be like to follow after. And she clung unto me, and I to hold her very safe as I looked down upon the falling of the rock. And behold, the great rock smote the monster in the humped part of the back, below of the head, and did enter into the monster, even as a bullet doth strike, and was gone instant from my sight into the vitals. And there came a mighty sound of anguish from the monster, and the monster did loosen from the cliff, and to crumple, as it did seem, and sink backward, and a great steam of dread breathing to go upward from the beast, and a reek, and it made again the strange and horrid noise of pain, and the gorge to be yet full of the echoes of the rock thundering, and with the noise of the rock there was now mingled the horrid sounding of the death-crying of the beast, and the gorge to be filled with dull and dreadful echoings, as that 100 monsters died in this place and that of the darkness of the gorge, and all to be bred of the noise of that mildewed hill a-dying. Have I considered voice acting? He's being facetious. And the echoes ceased not for a while, even after that the monster did be utter quiet. For truly they came presently from far upward and downward of the gorge, out of all the eternity of the night, and to be as that they came backward very faint out of lonesome miles, and out of the strange deepness of unknown caverns of the world, and so in the end to silence, and the far bottom of the gorge to be filled with a white and horrid hill, very dreadful, and that did yet quiver to show the slowness of death. And alway a dreadful reek and stinking to fill all the air, even unto the height, as of the grave. And I stood upward in that high, far place, and held the maid very strong and tender, and she to have covered her ears from that dreadful crying, and to be yet shaken with the greatness and horror of the dying of the monster, and the nearness that she did come unto falling, as you have seen. And presently she came less to tremble, and did weep very easeful, even as a babe doth weep. And I, mayhap, to be not over steady, as you shall think, but yet to have a great gladness set in my heart, and a triumph, and an utter grace of thankfulness.
Like hell I am. Okay, have it your way. Oh no, not like this.
Not like this, lad. I'm not going to do that. That's going to be terrible. And I held mine own very tender and sure, as I did say, and she very soon to be eased of her trouble, and the shot to be something gone from her. And she looked up at me, and slipped her arms upward about my neck, and pulled me downward unto her, that she might kiss me. And we to talk then of the going down, and surely this did seem a great and dangerous task, for truly we had come upward pretty easy in the excess of our fear, but how we might go down, with our blood cool, I did be all in doubt. Yet before that we... Oh, I guess that's a reasonable break point. Okay, fine.
I must gather unto myself my powers.
Yeah, to answer your question truly, I have, of course, considered it, but it's, you kind of have to live in a place that's populated, and I don't. And I don't really have any plans to move to a city. You have to network, and I'm lazy. Yet before that we did okay. Off to a bad start. Yet, before that we did aught else, I led the maid upward to the safe part of the ledge, and we sat there, very quiet and weary, and she did be leaned against me. And we ate, each of us, 2 of the tablets, and I to scold and coax mine own to this end, and she to obey and to be better afterward, because that she had to eat. And we drank some of the water, and did rest a time longer. And presently our courage and strength was come back into us, and we packed the scrip again. And the maid set it fast to my back. And we went then to the edge of the shelf, and looked downward, this way and that, and surely there did be no way to go, save the way that we came, only that we might shape our downward climbing to bring us a little below that place where the dead monster did be. And I saw by mine own heart, and by the paleness of the maid, that we should do well that we consider the thing no more, but make to the task. And I went immediately over the edge of the shelf, upon my belly, and I bade Naani to follow. And we began then that we go downward, and in verity we went downward for mayhap a great hour, and I gave help alway unto mine own, as I could, and she to come after me very brave, and made that she hold back her fear, and come downward of that cliff, that did be oft like to a mighty wall. And surely, even as that we came down, I marvelled how we did ever go upward, even though fear did aid us. But indeed, I do think that it doth be easier to climb safely than to come backward, for this is how I have found. Yeah, if you're going down a sheer wall, I can definitely see that. A relatively sheer wall. And we made rest thrice upon the ledges of the cliff. Wow, I gotta just slur all my words. This is gonna be real hard to say. And we made rest thrice upon the edges and we made rest thrice upon ledges of the cliff. Ledges of the cliff. I have to slow down to enunciate, apparently. Jesus. And we made rest thrice upon ledges of the cliff, and afterwards came downward again. And afterward came downward again, and alway very slow, with exceeding heed where our hands and our feet did go, that we slipped not suddenly to our death. And once, as I did see, the maid was lost of all her strength, and did be going to fall, because that she did be all gone into a sudden weakness of the head in an instant. And she did be silent, even in that moment, which doth be marvellous unto me, and to give me a strong pride of her, as you shall understand, if that ever you have loved. And surely I came upward in a moment, that little space that was between, and had mine arm about mine own very swift, and held her hard and fierce against the cliff. And this I did, that she should feel how that she could never fall. And immediately her strength and her dear courage came back into her, and I kissed her, there against the mighty cliff, and afterwards she did have power again to come downward safe. And presently we were come to the gorge bottom, and maybe 100 paces down the gorge from that place where did be the dead monster, all sunk into an ugly and horrid heap, as so great as a small hill. And a dreadful stinking did hang in all that part of the gorge, by reason of the slug, and signs of disgust, as you shall think. And the great and mildewed body of the thing yet to settle and twitch, as I did look, as it did come properly unto death in all that mighty bulk. And everywhere the skin of the beast did be set into great wrinklings, and horrid blotches to be upon the and horrid blotchings to be upon the improper whiteness thereof. And truly I did be in haste that I turned the maid away from that thing, and that we haste downward of the gorge.
I suppose the voice acting is another profession getting taken over by AI. Still, it's a lot of fun, right?
Oh God, yes. Thoroughly enjoying myself. I have put my name out there for voice acting gigs. I can't talk much about some of the opportunity that may or may not have come up. If it ever comes to anything, I'll talk about it. If it doesn't, I won't. Honestly, I just need to knuckle down. Part of my fear is if I do manage to start doing it professionally, it'll turn into a job and I won't want to do it anymore. Because I'll have to do it. And I don't want to make something I enjoy doing into something I don't want to be doing at any point in time. If that makes any sense. It's a really unfortunate bit of my psychology. Where are we? And we went then for 2 good hours, and alway I did hearten the maid, and she to go very hushed and trustful by me. But truly I did be in anguish of heart, because that I was newly aware that there did be such great and dreadful serpents in that part of the gorge, as you do also know. And I was not over feared for myself, but for the maid that did have no armour to protect her dear body. And because that I was so set with this trouble, I took the maid presently into, not unto. Or, and I was not over feared for myself, but for the maid that did have no armour to protect her dear body. And because that I was so set with this trouble, I took the maid presently into mine arms, that I carry her, and so to have her clear of aught that should lie among the boulders. And in verity, mine own did show an anger very surprising and determined, for I said not why I should carry her, fearing to give her a greater unease, but only that she did be weary, and I very strong and willing.
It's turning into a Liverpool. I'm turning Liverpudlian. I sound like one of the Beatles. That's not very helpful, is it?
And indeed I could not bring her to reason without I told her, which was not mine intent, for she did refuse me to carry her, and said that I truly had no need. Okay. And indeed I could not bring her to reason without I told her, which was not mine intent, for she did refuse me to carry her, and said that truly I had need of no added burden unto my labours. You could rephrase any series of the words in that, and reorder them any way, and they would have made more sense to me than the way they're laid out. I'm sorry. Sometimes this drives me nuts. And when she saw that I would not be moved by her reasonings, she made to win upon me by her loving ways, but indeed only I kissed her, and went forward with her in mine arms. And she half naughty, that I did be so heedless of her wishings, and somewise hurt also, and so to be silent in mine arms, yet mayhap to be something stirred in her nature, that I did be steadfast to mine intention, despite that her will did be contrary. And this I do believe to be truth, because that, afterward, I do think that she lay there in mine arms, only as a woman that doth be in the hands of her master, and hath all her love. And in this wise we went forward. And in the end of the 2 hours that we did go, there was come the end of the dark part of the gorge. And we to be outward of that mighty roof of the mountains, as I do think it to have been, and the air to be free of the stink of the monsters, and the fire holes to be very plenty, and their smokings to go upward very proper, so that we had no more the bitterness of their fumings in our throats. And there did be a pretty good light, to go by the contrast of the past hours. And I set mine own again to her feet, and made that she keep to my rearward, so that if there did be any serpents to our path, they should come first under my feet, and this wise to work no harm on me, and this wise to work no harm to me, because of mine armour, neither to Naani, mine own maid.
Give me 1 sec. There it is.
Dropped my bookmark.
Dropped it again. There it is.
Okay.
Sorry about that. All right.
Now, by this time, it was somewhat of 19 great hours since we did sleep, for we had been a long while making that we come safe from the slug, and indeed we had come downward with a less speed than I did go through upon my... Yep, no, you read it right. And indeed we had come downward with a less speed than I did go through upon mine upward way, as you shall mind, and this to be that mine own did not have the hard strength that was in my body to the enduring of great labour and stress, and this surely all to be plain unto you that have been with me in all my journey. And, moreover, there must be kept to mind the 3 hours that we had gone, ere we were come proper into the dark part of the gorge, and so all to be remembered unto you, and also you to mind that we did be wakeful a time, ere that we set forward upon that day's journey. I'm going to try that sentence again. And, moreover, there must be kept to mind the 3 hours that we had gone, ere we were come proper into the dark part of the gorge, and so all to be remembered unto you, and also you to mind that we did be wakeful a time, ere that we set forward upon that day's journeying. And we did go almost in joyous wise, because that we were come safe out of that dreadful place. And surely, odd whiles I did feel the hands of mine own naughty one to be hooked very pretty and sly into the backward part of my belt, as that she did make a pretending that she'd drive me before her, and surely this doth be a strange thing to tell upon, for there did be no knowledge of the olden horse in all the eternity of that dark world, but yet, maybe, some dear olden memory dream did set her hands unconscious to this pretty work. That's actually an interesting reveal, because they do have all that agricultural area down underneath the Great Redoubt, like in cavernous area underneath it. So maybe they have machines that do it, or maybe all the agricultural work is done by hand. I would think that plowing the fields you'd have something to do that, but they might have machines to do it, I guess, that run off the earth current. An interesting question. I don't think he mentioned how they were tilling the fields. And, in verity, once I turned very sudden, and had her swift into mine arms, as she did pretend to drive me, and in verity, once I turned very sudden, and had her swift into mine arms, as she did pretend to drive me, and she to laugh with a sweet and joyous gurgle against mine armour, and I to heed that I hurt her not, because I did be like an iron man that should put arms about a tender maid. And we looked away now for a place that should be proper to our rest and to our sleep, and when it did be close upon the end of the 20th hour of that journey, the maid showed me a cave that was, mayhap, 50 good feet upward in the right side of the gorge. And I looked about me, and saw that there did be 2 fire holes anigh, and a warm spring to make a basin of water, that did lie between the fires, and all very well set to our need, as I did perceive, for indeed we did be utter besmirched with the filth of the slug part of the gorge, and to need that we be nice and fitly washed, before that we have any comfort of ourselves. And I bade Naani to wait a little minute, and I looked well up the gorge and well down the gorge, and lo, there did be no thing to set me in unease, and I told mine own that she keep a sharp and steadfast watching, and not to heed me. And this I said, because I knew that she did be like otherwise to look at me and be over anxious, as I go upward to the cave. And indeed she to be better anyway in watch of the gorge, and to cry out to me, if that anything came anigh, whilst that I went upward. And I made upward to the cave, and was come there pretty quick, and truly it did be good for our purpose, and fresh seeming, and dry, and to have no holes that I could see for the hiding of creeping things. And I called down gently to the maid that the cave did be proper, and she to show her gladness, and to be looking upward at me, instead of the way of the gorge, as I set her. And truly she did be a dear and human little maid, and utter mine, so that I did find a new joy in each small lack of wisdom, and this just so much as that she had done And this just so much as that she had done a wondrous proper thing. And truly, you shall say, there was some properness to her heart, in that she could abide not but to watch me. And I went quickly down to mine own, for there was alway an unease upon me, save when I did be nigh to her in chance of trouble. And when I was come down to her, the maid did be seeming a little in thought, and afterwards showed me how that she did be all in a pitiful disgust of the dirt and slime and the drippings of the gorge that did be upon her. And had made her garment utter wet and bemired, so that she did feel that her very body was a repulse unto her. I'm going to reread this paragraph. And when I was come down to her, the maid did be seeming a little in thought, and afterwards showed me how that she did be all in a pitiful disgust of the dirt and slime and the drippings of the gorge that did be on her, and had made her garment utter wet and bemired, so that she did feel that her very body was a repulse unto her. And I saw how it did be with Naani, and I went to the warm pool, and felt that it did be not over hot, and afterward found the deepness, by the handle of the discos, and this to be scarce of 3 feet, and the water very clear to show me the bottom, so that it was surely a nice and proper place to be for such a purpose as I did think. And I set some of the water to my mouth, using my hand, and truly there did seem no hurtful chemicals in the water, and therefore I was eased that the maid should have the desire that I did see to be in her mind. How many people were living in the Great Redoubt? Millions. My gut is saying 10 million. Let me flip here. Or is it 100 million? Give me 1 sec, I can find that, because I know they mentioned it. It's probably like 10 million. No. Earliest memory in my brain. Okay, now he's describing the landscape. Now describe the Great Redoubt. Here we go. And when the humans had built the Great Pyramid, it had 1,320 floors, and the thickness of each floor was according to the strength of its need. Let's see. It just says the last millions. It doesn't say how many. So it could be a lot of people. I mean, if it's 7 miles tall, over 7 miles tall, made up of 1,320 floors, and the larger floors, the floors farther down to the bottom would hold more people. You could probably math out the capacity. I want to say he does call out fairly specifically how many people are there, but I'm not seeing it now. I can skim back and find out later after we get through this chapter. Here we go. Where were we? And I saw that I should be helpful to mine own, if that I make the arranging of things to be in mine own hands. And I went back unto the maid, and told her that the pool was very nice to be for a bath place, and that she to haste to wash herself, whilst the gorge did be free of any creature or monster. Now I saw that Naani was troubled, and feared that I did be going to leave her, and yet did be paused a little in her words, to show me all that she did wish. And surely I stooped and kissed her, as she did look so wistful in her little puzzlement, and immediately I removed her trouble very natural, and told that I should stand guard anigh to her, the while that she bathed. And truly she did be at ease on the moment. And mayhap something surprised to know wherefore she had been something alack to ask me. But in truth it did be very natural. And I told her to be so quick as she might, which was a needless thing to say, yet to start her, and she to go quietly to obey me, but first to take the cloak out of the hold upon my shoulders, and to unfold it, and so to the pool. And I to stand with my back thatwards, and to lean ready upon the discos. And presently she did be in the water, as I knew, and I to be her man, very sure and gentle to her, and sedate. And truly, as you shall think, I did love that I be to stand guard. I just got terribly lost. I can't see. I don't know where grandmother's house is. And presently she did be in the water, as I knew. Is that the one that I just read? I don't know that I read the one before it. And I told her to be so quick as she might, which was a needless thing to say, yet to start her, and she to go quietly to obey me, but first to take the cloak out of the hold upon my shoulders, and to unfold it, and so to the pool, and I to stand with my back thatwards, and to lean, ready, upon the discos. And presently she did be in the water, as I knew, and I to be her man, very sure and gentle to her, and sedate. And truly, as you shall think, I did love that I be to stand guard to her in her dear maidenhood, and she, after that she was cheered and warmed by the delight of the water, to sing very low and happy to herself, where she did be to my back. And sudden the singing to cease, and the maid screamed, and I to have no thought of improper modesty, but turned instant to the maid. And in a moment I saw what did trouble her, for there came a serpent out of the water, and the maid to be all adrift with natural modesty, and with her fear of the serpent. And I was come into the pool in a moment, in mine armour, and did lift the maid, naked and wet, into mine arms, and had her instant from the water, and upon the side of the pool. And there I wrapped the cloak about her, and ran very quick, and killed the serpent, as it did go offwards among the boulders. And surely it did be so thick as mine arm, and to have come from some hole that did be hid in the bottom of the pool. And I came back then to mine own, and took her into mine arms, and set the cloak well about her, and she to cry and to tremble with the shock and the disturbance of the thing, but soon to be eased, and ready to laugh with me. And so she was come proper to her happiness again, and I very gentle and joyous with her, for truly my heart had been sick that she had come so nigh to that horrid danger. And I eased the scrip from me, and opened it, and made her to take two of the tablets, and she to refuse to eat, save I company her also. And indeed I did be very willing, for truly my belly was alway empty. And she to be very glad to eat, because she did be clean now, and to have no more disgust of herself. And afterward we drank some of the water. And soon we did be finished, and she to ask for her girdle that I did give her with the knife, as I have surely told. And she belted the cloak very graceful about her, and looked very dear and pretty with her little bare feet. There it is again. And her hair very lovely upon her shoulders, for she did wear alway in the gorge the lining of my headpiece, and so had her hair dry and sweet. And in verity I did mind now how that she did look very beautiful in her bath, as I had gone to succour her from the snake, and I to be nicely wholesome in this remembering, because of my love, but yet to be knowing that I was sweetly stirred to new things, and did not know before that a maid looked in the same moment so holy and so human. And afterward, in odd whiles, I remembered, but never to think over much, because that I did feel inwardly that I should be gently wise in such things, and you to understand my heart in this, if that ever you have loved. And surely the maid brought me from my dreamings very sensible, in that she had me to stand, and she was gone about me very swift and natty with her pretty fingers, that she eased me of mine armour. And afterward she bade me to strip and wash, whilst that she keep watch for me of the gorge. And she took the discos, and leaned upon it, very brave and proper, but yet, as I do think, with somewhat of a roguishness within her, very deep hid, and scarce known unto herself. And I warned her to be very wise with the great weapon, for it did fit only to fight in my hands, and did be like to cause harm to any that should meddle with it, or make to use it, save me. And Naani to nod that she did hear me, and to be half in fear of the thing, and half to feel that it did be friendly to her, and so to stand guard for me, and truly to seem a very sweet and slender maid, despite the bigness of the cloak, and the great weapon to seem more great in her small hands, and to mind me how strong I did be. And surely you shall think me in conceit, but truly I did be glad to be so strong, and a proper thing for pride, if that there be no scorn for others therein. And you to agree with me in this thing, or to be lacking of sympathy and good human understanding. Yeah, you'll agree that it's good that I'm super swole, or else you're not a sympathetic person. Really? Really, pal? Okay, fine. There's nothing wrong with him being swole.
Happy for you, bro. $500,000 hectares of farmland to feed 10 million people.
Yeah. They did say, I mean, I'll go double check and look up as well the size of the area underneath, because he gives a pretty good accounting for how big the area underneath is, I think. And it's pretty large, but I don't think it's 500,000 hectares. But then again, it could be multiple levels again? I don't know. But yeah, as you say, they have super space future food tablets that condense an entire meal's worth of food nutritional power into like a tiny tablet that he's able to carry literally thousands of on his person for this journey. He's got a lot on him, and evidently they're tiny and light. Where was I? Now I washed me, not by going down into the pool, for indeed I did not wot whether there be any more snakes hid there in some other hole. Oh, it's a now, so now we get to change how we talk good. How we talk at things. Now I washed me, not by going down into the pool, for indeed I did not wot whether there be any more snakes hid there in some other hole. And the way I washed was that I dipped my headpiece into the hot pool, and poured the water over me, and rubbed my body very strong with my hands, and there to be, surely, some certain chemical in the water that aided mine efforts, for the water went very smooth under my hands. And when I was done, I washed my pocket-cloth very speedy in the pool, and wrung it, and then did wipe my body so dry as I should, and afterward I wrung the cloth again, and set it about my loins, and so to be as proper as I might. And I did call to the maid that I was proper, and she to come then and kiss me. And she gave back to me the discos, and set me that I stand anigh to the nearer fire-hole, and so to be that I should guard her, and in the same time become free of the chill of the gorge, which was not great in that place. And surely I did mean that I help her, but she would have no help in her work that she did say to be her glad right, but bade me that I to mind my own work, to be her dear protector, as she did call me, and I to lift that wilful one into mine arms a moment, and to give her a very loving hug, and for that time to have no fear that I harm her, because that I was freed of the hardness of the armour about me, as you do know. And surely she to feel very dear and pretty in mine arms, and she kissed me the once with a little passion of love, and immediately to want to go from me, so that I freed her in a moment, as was ever my way. And she then to pause a small space off from me, and looked at me with a light in her eyes, and half to put out her arms, that she be taken again into mine, but so to cease, ere she yield to her heart, and turned from me immediately to the task of the washing. And she took first my body vest, and washed it very quick and clever in the pool, and afterward came over by me, and spread it upon the hot flat rock, anigh to the fire hole. And she got then my change body vest from the bundle of her torn garments, where she did put it to be washed on opportunity, even as now, and mayhap to like that it should lie in her bundle with her own garments, for so, as I do mind, the thought came to me very natural. But she to say not to lead me thus, yet to be a very honest and dear maid, and to have little secret ways of love, as I did perceive, that I did not be told of. And she washed the second body vest, and set it to dry by the first, and afterward did likewise with all my garments, and came then to the washing of her own. And lo, as she spread it also to the drying, there came to mine heart that the maid did have only this one rough and thick garment, that did be the armour suit, as I have told. And surely it did be dreadful that she have the hardness of that strong knitted and fibrous garment to be next to her dear body, and I to be in comfort with the softness of my body vest. And I was all angered in a moment that she had gone this wise, while that I had been gentled, as it might be. And I bade Naani take the second vest to her own use when it did be dry, and she to look upward from where she did turn the garments upon the hot rock, and to mean in the first to deny me. But indeed she was quick to see that I did be truly in anger, and mine anger to come because that I was hurt that this did be, and because that I was shamed that she had gone so rough clad, the while that I had no thought to the matter. And moreover because that she had known her lack, and did not tell me of the thing. But yet did I have a great tenderness in the backward part of mine anger, because that I perceived all the unselfishness and delight of her love that did be about this little matter, as you shall see, if you have gone alway with me. But mine anger yet to be something hard, because I did see that I have need to watch the maid, that she put not her dear body to pain, that I might come unknowing to some little pleasuring or ease, as did be now as I have shown. And truly it did be sweetly done in love, but to be somewise lacking of judgment, and so shall you know somewhat of the way that I did be angered, and to have understanding with me. But if you have not, you shall think it to be not. And that the maid did need only that she be kissed, and to be shaken a little in playfulness, and warned to heed that I did be earnest, and mayhap you to be somewise right, and not to guess far off from the inward deepness of my heart. But yet it doth be verity that I was truly angered, and fit to shake mine own, and in the same moment to be utter tender unto her. And surely this doth be all a contradiction, and the human heart be to be a wayward thing, whether it doth be of a man or of a woman. And Naani, as I do think, to have loved the chafe of that rough garment for love's sake, and to go very humble and loving, as I looked at her, but in verity to be never gone from the sweet naughtiness that did alway be in her heart. Okay. And Naani, as I do think, to have loved the chafe of that rough garment for love's sake, and to go very humble and loving, as I looked at her, but in verity to be never gone from the sweet naughtiness that did be alway in her heart, and to plan even in that moment some new and secret service unto me, that should be for her quiet joy, and to be hid from me until that my wit should come upon it to uncover it. And in verity a young man doth want that he whip his maid and kiss her, and all in the one moment. And indeed he to have delight in both. Okay, I don't know about all that. I guess it's the I love her so much I could strangle her sort of thing. Yeah. And she obeyed me that time, as alway when I did be earnest, without more word. And surely that naughty one did know how I loved her. And the maid washed then her torn garments that did be in the bundle, and had gotten soiled by the slime of the dark part of the gorge. And these she put to dry, and afterward washed mine armour, and the scrip and the pouch and the cloak hold, and all such matters of our gear, and so to be presently done. And she was heedful then that she turned the garments upon the hot rock, and afterward did attend to my bruisings. And when she did rest, I looked to her pretty feet, and rubbed them very gentle and constant with the ointment, and surely they did be pretty well. But I to like that I should tend them, and to have joy to feel their littleness within my palms, and surely she did know how it did be with me, for presently she took her feet inward under the cloak, and I, maybe, to look something woeful, for she put one out presently, when that I did the least expect, and slipped it very cosy into my hand, and surely I kissed her naughty toes, and she then to be very sedate. He does have a foot thing. He really, really does have a foot thing. But apparently you too would have a foot thing if you ever met your own maid, your destined loved one, with such dainty and pretty feet. Evidently. That is how that works. Now, presently, when Naani found the garments to be proper dry, she gave those to me that were mine, and bid me to turn my back and be dressed very speedy. And lo, in a little time, when I was nigh done, she came over and stood before me, and was dressed again in the armour suit, and to look very slender and dainty. And she looked at me, so that I put out my hands, that I kiss her. But she went from me, very proper, and brought mine armour, and gave me help with it, and alway very grave and quiet, but yet to have naughtiness underneath, as I did believe. And when I was full armed, she took my hand, and set mine arm about her waist, and she leaned her head against my breast, and put up her lips to be kissed, as that she did be a child maiden. Yet when I kissed her, she did be a woman, and to kiss me very dear and loving, and to look at me then from under her eyelids, and sudden to make a dainty growling, and to pretend that she did be a fierce thing that should be like to eat me, and I to be utter feared, as you shall think, and to be scarce able that I kiss mine own pretty fierce one, which is all capital letters, by the way. Of course it is. Lordy. These people are so goofy. And sudden to make a dainty growling, and to pretend that she did be a fierce thing that should be like to eat me, and I to be utter feared, as you shall think, and to be scarce able that I kiss mine own pretty fierce one, because that I did laugh so hearty, and to be so taken with a surprise that the maid did show this new playfulness, and in the same moment to be stirred and waked anew that she did be so lovely and graceful in mine arms, and to make her naughty growling so pretty that I did be eager that she make it again, but she to do this playing only as her mood did stir her. And she made then that she would go from me, and I to loose her, as ever, and she bade me that I guard her the while that she washed the outward part of the cloak, for the inward did be clean, and the cloak proof to water, but the outward part to be something needful of washing. And surely, when this was made clean, it dried very quick, because that the water went not into it. And whilst that it dried, I gave mine own an aid upward unto the cave, and afterward I passed up the gear, and the cloak when it did be dry, and so came upward also myself, and brought with me a boulder, that I balanced very light in the mouth of the cave, so that it should fall, if that anything touched it. And this plan you do know of, for I used it before, as I have told. And truly we did be utter wearied, and the time to be something beyond 23 hours, since last we had slumber. And the maid had the scrip and the pouch set to be for my pillow, and the bundle of her torn garment to be for her own. And she to have me to my pillow, and to tuck the cloak about me, and the discos to my hand, and afterward to kiss me very sedate upon the lips, and then to come in under the cloak, with a quiet and lovely happiness, as I did know, and to be gone to slumber very content and sweet. And I waked 8 good hours after, with the fizzing of the water in mine ears, and lo, mine own did be waked and to make ready our breakfast. And I came upward upon mine elbow, to see whether that the boulder did be unmoved, and indeed it was not touched. And mine own saw that I was come awake, and she ran to me, very dear and glad, and kissed my lips, very eager and loving. And surely, as she kissed me, I did feel that she had taken again a naughty advantage of my slumber, a naughty advantaging of my slumber, and had kissed me as I did sleep. But truly I said no word of my thoughts, for I did mind that I should have waked sudden one time, and so to catch her in this, and to call her then mine own, and that she did be a rogue, and all as you shall know that have loved. And I scolded the maid a little, in that she had not waked me, but I said not that I would attend to the duties that she did heed to, for I knew that she had joy of these things, in that she did love to do aught that should be done unto me. And when I scolded her, she to make but a pretty little mouth at me, as we do say, and to put her tablets to my lips, that I kissed them, and she to kiss mine, and so to our breakfast. And when we were done, we gat together our gear, and went downward from the cave, and began again to journey. And we went 18 hours that day, to eat and drunk at every 6th hour, as ever, except all the times that you didn't. But you told us about all of those, as you shall wot. And in the 14th hour I perceived that I did be like to over-travel the maid, though I made alway to have less a speed than did be natural unto me. And surely then I took her up into mine arms, and she to refuse, and to be troubled that I should so carry her, for she did think that I was like to be wearied by the task. And I to take no heed of her protestings, but to laugh gently with her, and to carry her, even as a babe in mine arms, and she to love that she be in mine arms, and she to love that she be in mine arms, but she be, I can not read. And I to take no heed to her protestings, but to laugh gently with her, and to carry her, even as a babe in mine arms, and she to love that she be in mine arms, if but she be able to have assuredness that I come not to weariness through her. And truly it did be a dear love task. Yes, that is what it says. And truly it did be a dear love task, and to be set unto the needing of mine especial heart. And I carried mine own then for 4 hours, and in the 18th hour we were come to that part of the gorge where did be the ledge where I killed the spider, ere I slept, as you shall mayhap to mind. And here I aided the maid to climb, and we had the same ledge that night to be our refuge, and did sleep very happy and unharmed, and alway with our spirits set to warn us, if that harm did make to come nigh to us. And we went then through 3 days of 18 hours' journey each, and alway I did carry mine own, from the 12th unto the 18th hour of each journeying, and this to be very dear unto me, and to give me a new rejoicing that I did be strong and easy to carry mine own, and she to lie in mine arms very content, when that she perceived how that I did be glad to go this wise, and that I had no weariness by the carrying. And thus I did rest her feet, the most important thing. And thus I did rest her feet, and wore not her dear and slender body overmuch with the vigour of my going, and was able to make a very good speed. And mine own, this time and that, to make sayings of impudence unto me, and to hide her naughty lips, when that I should kiss them, and to have quaint nestlings unto me, and odd whiles to kiss me very dainty, when that I did be going thoughtful of the way. And surely never did there be so dear a maid as mine own, so that I did go many a mile, and to be scarce that I knew that I was gone any way, because of the stirrings of my heart and the content of my spirit. Is that content or content? It's got to be content, because it's contentment, and he likes removing syllables and adding extra words instead. And oft as we did go, there were great scorpions in the path, and odd whiles they to have no heed to go from my way, but to be so great as my head, and very fat and lazy, so that surely I kicked a good number from my path, even as you shall kick a ball with the foot, and 3 I burst in this way. And truly it did be well that I had on me mine armour, else had they been like to sting me very quick unto death, for they were so great. And likewise in this place and that there were snakes, but none to come anigh to me, and I to choose alway the open goings. For I did think there to be many hid snakes and lesser monsters in the dark places between the great boulders. And alway, when the maid did walk, I to go before, that I see clear her way, and this thing to be but a matter of wiseness, as you shall think. And odd whiles, as I did carry mine own, she to talk a little with me of her memory dreams of the olden days. And mayhap you to think it strange that we said not over much on this wise. But the way of our journey to have been so utter bitter, as you have seen, and we to be more of that far age than we did be of this present age, and this present life to seem but a dream of memory, and we to be set then with the realness of that life. And this telling, indeed, to be a plain thing to your understanding. Yet did we have a greater talk to these ends, when that we were come free of the gorge, but yet oft there to be an odd saying and a sweet memory, like to an olden and forgot fragrance of dreams, to pass between mine own and me. And do you to set your sympathy of understanding with me in this thing, and to know how holy these things did be, and far off, and to hold memory as a mist that doth shine with golden lights, that did make an holy pain upon the eyes of the spirit, even as a quiet dawn of this day doth set a pleasure of vague pain upon the heart. And once, as I did carry the maid, I saw that she wept a little, very hushed unto herself, and I to say naught, for I saw that it did be a natural sorrow for her father, and for the dead peoples of the lesser redoubt, that did be left for ever unto the desolation of eternity. And so, because I did be wise to leave her be, she to be eased presently, and to wipe her eyes, quiet and secret, and mayhap to think that I did not perceive, and then to nestle unto me, and so to be the more mine own. And about the middle part of the second day we came past the cave where I did sleep on the upward journey, and I to tell Naani, and she to look upward to the cave, and to wish that she might come a moment into it, only that it did be 20 good feet upward, and I to desire that she run no risk of her dear life, when that there did be no need. And so to go onward, and odd whiles to see strange things a-lurk among the boulders, but none to come anigh to us. Yet did I keep the discos very ready in my hand, as you shall think, and had mine eyes alway to look upon every side, and mine ears to be wary, and to use my spirit alway to mine aid. And surely, as we did come lower in the gorge, the maid was all a-wondered at the warmness that did grow, and something disturbed in the first, by the new thickness, as it did seem, of the air. And she to waste some of the water, because that it did fizz up so quick, even as I, until that she was come used to this newness. And all this to be very plain unto you. And in the end of every journey we slept 8 good hours in a safe place, and so to go onward again, and the maid to grow very eager as I did tell her this thing and that of the country that we did come downward unto. And she asked me questions time and oft, and much I told her, and she to think upon it with a growing wonder and desire, even as a gladsome child that hath never seen the sea, and doth be told that it shall presently be there. And this to be but a shadow, and this to be but to shadow the way that Naani did be, for truly she did be a very live and eager maid in all things. And we to be still within the gorge, and to go constant by the fire-holes and the fire-pits, and to see the flames leap upward in this place and that, so that the mighty walls of the gorge would show very plain in an instant, and immediately to come to the shadows again, and afterward the leaping of the flames. And so did it be forever. And oft the muttering of the fire-pits, and oft the utter quiet and the shadows. And this time and that there did be a snake to go by us, and the scuttling of the monster scorpions, and mayhap a moving in the shadows of the great boulders, that did tell me there went maybe some peculiar monster in that place, so that I did be very wary, and to have the discourse alway ready. And when the 4th day was come, I showed the maid in the 6th hour the ledge that did be my first sleeping place, when that I was entered into the gorge. Now presently, in the 11th hour, after that we had gone for 5 hours in a gloom, now present...
It's a now. I have to change my voice again.
Now, presently, in the 11th hour, after that we had gone 5 hours in a gloom, there did show afar off a shining, and I caught the maid, and I pointed, and she also to perceive that it did be surely the shining of light of that great country that I did tell upon. And immediately we did begin to run downward, and with sore stumblings in this place and that, but not to halt us, for we did be so mad as 2 children for the gladsome light. And we came down presently in the 12th hour of that journey into the warm light and wonder of the country of the seas.
And that is where I will have to call it for today.
Next week should be a lock. We have what? How many more in here? Probably 2 more. Yeah, probably 2 more, I think. Might have to split one of them. It's about 50 pages, which is about right. And this next segment, the last segment would be what? 323 to... That one's a bit longer. That one's closer to 60 pages. Actually, it's more than 60 pages, it's like 65. It's doable. In 2. I don't know what the week after next is going to be like. Actually, she does have foot things on that they cobbled together. They're not actual shoes, though. But yeah, she should probably be wearing thick boots. But if she went topless, what would he do about her maidenhood? And how would he keep the horny thoughts from his mind? I don't know. Well, then again, maybe he doesn't care about all that. It's the feet, man. It's all about the feet. And fair enough. Good for him, I guess. Anyway, so yeah. Yeah, they cobbled together. I forget what they made it out of. Was it out of... It was like his Under Armour sock things, I think. Or did they bind her feet with, like, the remains of her... They might have bound her feet with some of the remains of her clothes, because her clothes are rent asunder. I'm glad you enjoy it. I enjoy it, too. The book is a challenge. And I grumble a lot about it, but I am enjoying myself because it is such a great story, and their love is so sweet and adorable. They are very cute. They are a very cute couple. The love story portion is told quite well, and just the Nightland itself as a setting is, as we've harped repeatedly, is just so brilliant. It's such a great setting. All right, let me look up that book you had recommended. Book of the New Sun. That is a very familiar title. The Book of the New Sun. From the 80s, the good old days. Oh, I love the titles. The Shadow of the Torturer, the Claw of the Conciliator, the Sword of the Lictor, the Citadel of the Autarch, and the Earth of the New Sun. Ooh, I like all those. I'm gonna look that up. That looks pretty great. Or sounds pretty great. And it has maps. It's a real book. I'm here for it. All right. I will definitely check those out. I love stuff like that. But yeah, no, thanks to everyone who tuned in. If you didn't tune in, I forgive you. If you can only forgive yourself. That sounds a lot like emotional browbeating. If you're listening to this after the fact, good. Like, it's easier for you to do that, I would think, considering the times that I stream are weird by any measure. They are not ideal, I think, for most people. 12 noon U.S. East Coast time every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is not ideal for most folks. And I acknowledge that. It's totally okay. So if you're listening to them after the fact, let's see. So the month is coming to its end, so I'll update next week probably the playlists. I'll get those taken care of. Let's see, on Monday we'll be reading through more of Legend of the Galactic Heroes. On Wednesday we'll be reading through more of The Edge of Running Water by William Sloane. And on Friday, we'll be reading through more of The Nightland, assuming, of course, that my schedule doesn't implode on me earlier than I expect it to. It is not impossible that this will happen, and I will not know until it's basically happening. It will be short notice. The best place you'll know when that's happening is on the Discord. It's not my favorite platform for information dissemination, but it is convenient. It is difficult for me to get that information across effectively on the YouTube channel, and I don't really do the social media thing. So, there's that. So with that in mind, I guess stay safe, stay sane, and be decent to each other. Hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. Hope you have some delicious leftovers for me in my memory, and I will have some leftovers in yours, because tasty food is tasty. You don't need an actual holiday celebrating the prelude to Native Indigenous peoples genocide, but to have an excuse to eat delicious food. So whatever pretense you find to eat tasty food, do it. That's my motto. It served me well, hasn't it? Anyway, I'll see you all later. Thanks again. I want to say there was something else salient I had to yammer on about, but I can't remember what it is, so it must not have been that important. Oh, right. I'll look and see if I can find what the figures are for the estimated population and how big the production area is. There's also the whole, they're like, they feed off of the Earth current, which is kind of interesting. I think is fascinating, actually. So there's some aspect there of their continued survival. I don't know how much of that contributes to their vitality as far as food is concerned. Anyway, until next time, toodaloo. I'll be back.